We're looking for the answers. I still don't have them, but what I do have is a particular set of skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a pain in the ass for people who mislead, misinform, or misrepresent the sports card industry. So if I don't do that, I'll let it go. But if you do, I might just talk about you. Guys, welcome to a very special episode of the Sports Card Investigator Show. I'm your host, Andy. Guess what? This hobby has a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell.
Guess what? I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell.
Well, this hobby certainly does have a fever going on, and I'm not sure more cowbell is going to fix it, but I couldn't pass up the chance to show one of the most iconic, greatest clips in Saturday Night Live history. The great Christopher Walken as the great Bruce Dickinson. All kidding aside, though, I find what's going on in the hobby now very interesting. And is usually the case, and I've said this over and over before, topics like this are continued to be discussed by numerous influencers throughout our community. I have sat back and listened, and I will admit to you that I have formed an opinion very early on, because to me, there is no controversy regarding this subject. Andy, what is this subject? What a tease. What are you talking about? I'm speaking of negativity, in particular negative comment, or what is perceived as negative content in our hobby. Now, I want to start off by saying that negative content, shocking negative comment for the sake of content's sake, really has no intrinsic value, and that's not what I'm talking about here. This schlock adds zero value to what we're doing, and it's not worth yours, mine, or anyone's time. How can I say this without causing more controversy? Because I think you guys are entitled to the answers, and I think you guys definitely can handle the truth.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. All right. Most card content, most created card content is redundant and boring. I'm guilty of it sometimes. But what does get view in our hobby? Content that is provocative and controversial, okay? And sometimes that content is also not only deemed controversial and provocative, but it is deemed or labeled negative. But sometimes, more often than people think, that negative content is truthful. So how can that be bad for our hobby? It's polarizing. It's a polarizing subject, and it should not be. But it is. There are content creators, some that I listen to on a regular basis, that do certain type of content that has been deemed by some as negative. And for whatever reason, these self-proclaimed gatekeepers of the hobby have decided that this sort of content is not allowed. It is frowned upon. It is not good for our hobby. Attack those people with a vengeance. Now, I'm not saying you have to agree with this content. That's your prerogative. Free will. But to disagree with said content just because you don't like the messenger that is delivering the truthful but sometimes negative information it contains, it's immature. But that's the key, right? Not the immature part. But if it's truthful, verified information, I mean, bullshit is bullshit. But if it's information that is true, how could it be harmful? That's the question though, right? Is negative content harmful to our hobby if it is true? It's the heart of the matter. If something is true, then it cannot be harmful, can it? It may sting, it may make you feel bad, it make you feel sad, it might want you to grab your blankie, it may have you maybe think a little differently about a person or a subject that you had different thoughts of prior to hearing the news, or maybe it won't have any effect at all. Sometimes the truth hurts. But what harm can come from the truth? Is it better to bury your head in the sand, ignore what is going on, turn a blind eye, and just look to those who preach positivity and dream of sunshine and lollipops? Everything is great, nothing to see here, don't mind me, I'll be playing my fiddle while the community burns. It's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic. If a content creator is associated with negativity, then they will be penalized for it. Oh, they will. Not from all of you, but by many. I have witnessed this firsthand, and I've seen it over and over and continue to see it in our hobby. So you would think that the incentive to these content creators would be not to report the negative things. I mean, they're reporting negative things they see in the hobby. They're just observing and reporting. They're bringing it to your attention. They're bringing it to the attention of the followers, the watchers, the haters, and good for them. But you are the ultimate judge of this information, and it's just information. Information is good. Do with it what you will, but why attack the person or people that are bringing it to your attention? Just don't listen. Stick your head in the sand. Who cares? Here's a question. Does the way you view content depend on who is delivering the message? And I said it before, there's a lot of polarizing people in this community of ours. Is there influencer bias? Are there teams in the hobby? I have influencer bias. I'm totally transparent. There are some influencers I like, some I do not. There's no secret there. Some I think know what they're talking about. Others I believe have no clue. I believe some are hypocrites. Some aren't. And I know, as hard as it is to believe, that there are people out there that do not like me. I get it. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and that's fine. But for me, I'll take all the information I can get. I'll use it to my advantage. I'll judge it on its value, its merit. I'll trust it at first, but I'll damn well verify it. If I like the messenger, that's a plus, no big deal, but I won't disregard information that could be helpful to me, even if it is negative. So that's it for today's show. My no sense, 2 cents opinion of what's going on with negative in the hobby. Take it for what it's worth. If it's worth it, take it. If not, let it go. But don't disregard it just because you don't like the message, if that makes sense. But anyway, if you like what you see, hit the like, hit the subscribe. If you don't like what you see, just give it a little tap. And until next time, take care.